Welcome back, class. This video is a continuation of theory for level design, goals, structure and feedback. In this video we're going to be addressing participants and feedback. I'd like you to think back to an earlier video where we defined design as design is the process by which a designer creates a context to be encountered by a participant from which meaning emerges. The participant in this context is the player. They participate in a game and interact with the formal system, which is the rules. The participants experience the game through play. Most digital games focus on gameplay, which is the formalized, focused interaction that occurs when players follow the rules of a game in order to play it. However, play also involves freedom. Play is free movement within a more rigid structure. Play emerges both because of and in opposition to more rigid structures. So, the level design should account for how the participants play, and therefore how they experience a game. So within level design, you need to consider how feedback is provided to the participant. For instance, how it feels to physically interact with the game through either a controller, keyboard and mouse, or something like the Kinect. How it feels to succeed at the game within the confines of the rules, and how it feels for the player to explore and encounter the game world that you've designed for them. So, how do they know when they have performed an interesting interaction? How do they know how well they have performed this interaction? How do they know when they have succeeded or failed? And how do they know when they are getting better? We'll return to teaching players in a later week. We're going to talk a little bit about rewards now. So if you want the participant to spend time with your level, you need to consider how you will provide them with some form of emotional feedback for their effort. Some of the ways you can do this using a variety of methods, including empowering them, make them feel strong, powerful, athletic and heroic. This might involve tweaking rules, abilities or scenarios in favour of the player to give them the edge. This should then be carefully balanced against a series of increasingly difficult challenges. The emotional feedback for the acceptance of challenge is the gratification of beating the level through action or strategy and feeling like a powerful agent in the game world. You can encourage the participant to invest their time in the game by promising some sort of payoff. The point is that the player will put in a high level of effort, but that this is only enjoyable if the system is fair and the rewards are worth it. The feedback may be the rewards of playing, a more immediate reward, or major reward at the end of play, such as treasure, recognition amongst peers, etc. Many games focus on escapism, the chance to be in another world, acting as another person. Here, the emotional feedback can be considered in terms of wish fulfillment. If you design a fantasy world for the participants to enter, how will you allow them to act within the world in a way that would satisfy their wishes? If this is an epic fantasy world to explore, then consider the genre and expectations. Perhaps they'll want to fulfill the role of a hunter. Embed interesting and exciting elements that will allow them to experience this role in your game world. And many games concern simulation of some sort, from sports to management games. The reward for participating in a simulation actually concerns imitation, one of the most fundamental and natural aspects of play. From a very young age, we learn to imitate our parents, family and friends, and we draw enjoyment when we successfully imitate. Ensure that the participant is able to enjoy imitation within the world as fully as possible. For instance, if it's a football simulator, then a full repertoire of specialist footballing techniques, some more difficult to pull off than others, will allow the player to imitate their footballing idols. So let's link goals to feedback. Number 1. What is it that you want the player to experience? What are your goals as a designer? Number 2. What goals do you set for the player within the level as part of structured play? Number 3. How does the structure and implementation ensure that the player receives the desired feedback and rewards? I'm now going to assign you Task 4. With today's discussion in mind, begin to develop ideas for the overall design goals for your level. What is it that you want the player to encounter, in what context, and how is that meaningful? I want you to consider the potential scenarios for this experience. What are the per level goals, the scenarios, events, gameplay actions, and are you going to go for a linear, modulated, or open level structure? More specifically, how could you provide feedback through structure? How does the structure teach the player? How does it let them know that they're progressing? And what are the emotional rewards at each stage in your level? I'd like you to get these ideas down on paper as flow diagrams and other visualizations. So you can do these as flow diagrams and top-down maps and tie them both together. So that concludes Lecture 2. I'll see you in Lecture 3. Thank you.